Hey, Glenn Tobias for the Return of Man again. We're on our 45-day journey together to look at finding your rhythm of leadership. Leaders kind of go in and out of really four categories in life, I believe. They're always tuning up their 10 characteristics of leaders, which anyone can develop. They are working on the everyday, sort of managing the process, guiding people, helping people grow, um, and looking to the future, driving change. So, sort of the everyday. They learn to identify what a true crisis is. I'm going to give you a definition for that very soon. They learn to identify what a true crisis is and how to manage that crisis and work through that crisis. And then they learn how to recover from failure, because you can't be a leader and not have failures. You're just going to run into it. It's part of the game. And frankly, used properly, leaders almost, this is a little bit of a stretch, I realize. Leaders almost, in a sense, savor failure now and then, because utilized properly, it can be a springboard to ever greater growth. Failure can be a springboard to to greater growth. Actually, accelerated growth that you probably wouldn't find had you not experienced that failure. So failure is valuable, but you have to recover from it and get back into the process. So moving in and out of those four areas of life is what I consider the rhythm of leadership. And you're going to have your own. You're going to have your own style of leadership. Now, these 45 days, if you will utilize them, if you will get yourself a journal, if you will journal the things that we're learning right now, the 10 characteristics of leaders, if you will journal those things and look at the areas where you're already strong, and frankly, you probably want to just put most of your time into emphasizing the areas where you're already strong. Because the areas where you're weak, you can improve, but you'll never be, those will always be your weak points. And you'll need people around you to help guard your blind spots in those weak points. But the areas where you're strong, that's what you want to make your focus. And you'll become that kind of a leader. So leaders love individuals. You might be one of those persons that is just a lover of people. You may excel at that, and that's the kind of leader that you're going to be, and that's great. You may be particularly good at being effective in decision making, in operating processes, in guiding people. You may just really know how to cut straight to the stuff and be an effective leader. That's awesome. You may be an action taker. You may be one of those people that say, you know what, I only need a couple of pieces of information and I'm ready. Let's get moving with something. And you're great at stepping through the gate, which is one of the videos in this series. Gathering some information, a quick analysis. Hey, let's take action. We'll evaluate after that how things went, and then we'll repeat that process over and over. You may be a real action taker. You may be one of those people that are stalwart in dedication to the success of the mission. And that may be your strength as a leader. Or you may be one of those people that do an awesome job of earning the trust and respect of others. It just may be something that comes naturally for you. Emphasize that. Work on that. Work on the other 9 characteristics out of the 10. But if that's where you're really good, then keep building that trust with people. Okay? You may be one of those people that are naturally resourceful. You're great at networking. You're great at aggregating information and recording it, keeping track of it. I know people that, man, you need something, they can think of somebody that you need to meet, some resource you should look at. They know where to find the information. They're sort of these mavens of information. They're you want to know what's the best way to do such and such. They either know it or they know exactly how to tell you where to look for it. So these are all important characteristics, and you may be good at one or several of those that we've studied so far. Our last visit together, we talked about seeing their future story. So you may be that kind of visionary leader. You've got that story locked in your head. That picture is there. It cannot be shaken out of your imagination. You know where you're going with this. And you've even got plotted out the storyline. You know, we're going to run into scenarios like this. We're going to run into this crisis. And when this kind of crisis comes, I'm going to pull on this resource and this resource and this resource, and we're going to sit down and we're going to figure out how to get through this. So whatever one you're really good at, make that your focus. Work on the others. Journal on it a little bit. So make your notes. Ask yourself, how can I get in this next month, as an example, in this next month, how can I get 10% better at being an action taker? How can I improve on that 10%? Let me bump that up 10%. I'm already good at loving individuals. So let me keep that a primary focus, but how can I get better at being an action taker? How can I get better at being effective in my decision making, in my guiding and working with people? How can I be better at being effective, having the right kind of effect? All right? These are important. So today, in this session, we're talking about the H in the acrostic leadership. And H is a huge one. Many, many, many articles, books, tomes, and tomes and poems. Speeches have been given. So many works have been done on the concept of humility. And honestly, it's a very, very misunderstood concept. Now, there we go. So many people think assertive is necessary to be a leader, and they think it's the opposite of being humble, having humility. That's not really the case. Humility is not something that excludes many other characteristics. What humility requires, and honestly the best example in all of history, was Jesus Christ, the God, the Son of God, God the Son, who came to this earth, took on being a man. And in a book of the Bible, if you've got a Bible and you want to read this, you can. In the book called Philippians, which was a letter written by an apostle named Paul. It was a letter written to that local church in the ancient city of Philippi. And it's broken up into chapters and verses, but if you want to understand it, you want to try to forget those numbers and just read it all in context. But so that you can find it, it's in chapter 2 and right around verse 8, 7 or 8. I'm going off memory there a little bit. But one of the things it said about Jesus in coming to the earth, it said he made himself of no reputation. Now you want an awesome working example or illustration of humility, that's it. When you make yourself of no reputation, you are able to focus on not who gets the credit, not whether or not this makes you look good or anybody else look good. You're able to focus on decision making and judgment calls in such a way that you put your reputation out of the picture. You're able to deal with other people, thinking about what's in their best interest because your reputation is out of the picture. When you focus on your reputation as the primary concern, then that's when you no longer are humble. And when you are no longer humble, you cannot serve others. And when you cannot serve others, you really can't lead. And it's even been borne out in fairly recent groundbreaking literary works on business, for instance. There's a new book out, Common Sense Business, I'm reading right now. They focus a lot on humility of leaders. And then Noel Tichy and Warren Bennis, both world-class leadership trainers and business trainers and consultants, they wrote a book called Judgment, and it's how, I don't exactly remember the subtitle, but it's something to the effect of, how leaders make the right judgment calls, the process they go through to make those good judgment calls. In that book, they frequently refer to some of the great leaders as being very humble people. What leads to great leadership is a person who says, my reputation, in other words, what you think of me is really not important. And if you think about some of the other things we've talked about in this process, leaders love individuals, not crowds. Leaders are effective, not just efficient. Leaders are action-oriented. Leaders are dedicated to the success of the mission. Leaders earn the trust of their team. They're resourceful. They see their future story. All of these things tie together perfectly with a person who can say, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day what you think of me. It matters that we do what's in your best interest as a team member so that you can serve the whole team as we all dedicate ourselves to the success of this mission. That's what matters. And my reputation is not that urgent. Now, the great news is when you treat people that way, you'll build a fantastic reputation. You'll build an unshakable, bulletproof reputation when you treat people like that. So it's one of the perfect keys of leadership. And again, one of the beauties of it, everybody can develop it. You want to work on being humble, and it's a process. Please subscribe and click on the little thumbs up. It helps us with the algorithms, makes us more relevant in this process. And if you want notifications, hit the little blue bell so you know when another video pops up. And I think that's everything, and we will talk to you tomorrow.